Hello and welcome back to part 2 of this series of videos with AppsEvents and Acer. Remember, we're building using AppScript, and we're making a script that will show us all our Google Classrooms with the codes and who owns them and what's going on in our Google Classroom environment, which is really cool. So let's get back to it. We're now just about to start writing out the data into a structure so we can write it into a spreadsheet in just a minute. Let's carry on with that right now. Okay, so a little bit that I need to do next is we're getting this array, we are reading the information. Now before we need to keep loop, before we can start writing this into a spreadsheet, we've got to write the data that we've gathered into another array so we can write it into the spreadsheet. So for doing that, what we're going to do is we're going to write that information. So we're going to write to the spreadsheet later. So let's, we're doing this based on whether the course has been updated within our time frame. Remember that time stuff we put it right at the beginning? So we're going to say if course updated is greater than our start time. Oh, start time. I want it to be start time. That does make sense. Did I write start time at the beginning? Yeah, I did. Look there. See, I want it to be start time. Now that's corrected. Yep, start time. Perfect. Right, that's right. So I want it to be start time, not start. Start time sounds cool, but I don't want that. So what we're going to do here is if course updated, so the course was updated after our start time. Remember, our start time at this point is how many ever days ago we wanted. So if that means it's been updated in that time frame, we're going to store it. So what we're going to do is we've got this. Remember that going to have a variable called row, and that's going to store one row of information at a time. And I'm going to have a variable called start row. And then what I'm going to have is the start row. I need to set that up. So I think perhaps I've forgotten to set up start row at the beginning. Yeah, so let's start that up. I need to have a variable start row, and that's going to start at 1. So the first row is going to be 1, second row is going to be 2, and so on. So start row, and then after that we're going to write out the information that we've been gathering. So this is our first Google Classroom, which will be the most recent one created, by the way, because it lists them back in the reverse order that they were created. So who's the owner? Primary email for the owner. OU for the owner, course creation, when it was made, course updated, when it was last updated, course state. Now these will all be active, but just in case we'll write it out anyway. Course section, remember that could be just that's information that you enter with it. Let's go into a new line so we're carrying on so you can see it. Then we've got course name. I'm just going to add on toString just to make sure that this is going to get this as a string of characters rather than anything else. And then we've got course code. And then we're going to have course ID. So that's the information that we're going to write in an array, which is kind of cool. So that's good. That's what we're writing out. And then we're going to push that into our rows. Remember, we've got this array called rows, which is going to store all of this information. We're going to push in there this row. So that single row we've just created, we're going to push in there. And then we've written a row of classroom information. So let's increment our start row there. Cool. So that's going to loop around. It's going to grab all the classroom information. It's going to grab the owner's details for that classroom and write them into an array. So we will end up with all of the classrooms that we've got in our domain that are active and have been active in the particular date range that we're looking for. We're going to end up with them all sitting in an array. And the beauty of Google Sheets and APIs and such is we can now go and write all that information really easily out into the spreadsheet. So in order to do that, what we're going to do is after we've finished looping around, we're now going to write it out to a spreadsheet. So now we're going to write it out to a spreadsheet. To do that, let's start off, let's set the name for our spreadsheet. So for our, let's call my spreadsheet. And let's call it Dashboard Classroom. Dashboard Classroom listing, let's try that. Okay. And so now we're going to use files. We're going to use the Drive API just to start to get that file name and set it up. So Drive app, get files by name, use the spreadsheet name. Now we're going to use the particular file. So if it's not there, we're going to create it. So if it's not there, we'll create the file. So if it doesn't exist already, we'll create the file. So all this is going to do is say, get the file name. If the file name's not there, create the file. Okay, and then we'll get the pointer for that file because we open it. So let's open it up. This should be var sheet. I'm going to call this sheet equals when we get the spreadsheet, that's our reference to it. Now we've opened up the spreadsheet and we've found it. Now each spreadsheet, Google Sheets, have each workbook in Google Sheets has different individual sheets within it. So let's go and get the first sheet. We've got the first sheet there. So we've got the first sheet now already with get sheets. And what we need to do next is let's rename it. So set up and rename it. Let's just try renaming the first sheet. So let's go and try actually set active sheet. So if the sheet already exists, right, then we're just going to switch to it. And if we don't have that sheet existing, then we're going to create it. So when we catch an error, if the sheet's not there, then we'll actually just rename the first tab to be the same name that we're using. I need to put that inside single quotes so that I remember to use it. There we go. Oh. Cool. So we've renamed the active sheet and called it classroom list. Now why am I getting an error there? I need to use curly brackets. I should have done that. It should be curly brackets. That's right now. Perfect. So what we've done there, we've opened a spreadsheet called Dashboard Classroom Listing. We've renamed the first tab, or switched to the first tab and called it Classroom List. And now what we want to do, well, just in case there's any data, because we could run this script multiple times, let's clear any data that's in it. So let's just clear that sheet, which will remove anything in it. And let's write some headings. So our headers, again, we'll just do them as an array. So we're going to have a number. Let me just, here we go. Let's start now. So we're going to have a number. And then we're going to have the class owner. And then we're going to have the owner ID. And it's a bit fiddly writing these headers. Then we're going to have the org path. Then creation date. Then last updated. Then the course state. I know I'm just recording that just because it's there. Later on, you could take out that requirement for active classrooms and just record all of them. It's kind of a bit more versatile then. Course name, enrollment code, and course ID. Cool. So we've got that array written, and now we've got that array written, we can write that to our sheet. So we can append this row, and the value we're going to append is the array headers. So that's that array going in at the top, and now we're going to write out like the whole lot, everything that we've got stored in this array of rows. And this is all the data from our classroom sheet. It's like a huge thing. We're taking up lots of memory. So let's write that out. And we're going to write it out, obviously, from the second row down, because we already put the headers into the first row. So write rows. So here we go. So to write it, I'm going to do sheet, get range. Now it's going to be second row, first column. And then we'll use rows.length for our array. And we'll use the length of the headers, because that'll tell us how many columns we're using as well. And then we'll do set values. Set values rows. And that, let me just check that. So that's, yeah, that looks right. Rows length, headers length. Yeah, that should be everything that we need. That's going to write all that data we've got into the spreadsheet. And then just so they know that it's finished, let's write to the console in here that we're done. Report done. Get your data. And let's just do a little thing with this to show the URL. Get URL. So that should log and show us the link to this when it's done in the console. So right, that's our code. Wow, look at all that we've written. That's pretty awesome. Let's see if that's going to work. First of all, let's call this classroom listing. Script, that'll do. Let's rename it that. and let's run it. So when the first time we run it, we'll have to authorize. Right. So what I haven't done here is I haven't told it what to run. That's really useful. Attempt to execute my function, but that's deleted. Okay, that shouldn't be the case. So it says list classes here. So let's try running it now. I'll just change the select function to run. Run. That's going to work this time. So it's thinking about it. Now I have to review the permissions. Use my account. So these are all the things it wants access to, which is right. So it's our drive, view users and domains. This is the admin SDK stuff, and this is all the stuff for the classroom. So yeah, we trust it, so we'll allow it. Okay, so I've got a reference not defined error on line 7. So what have I done here that's not right here? What I've done there is I've typed a typo, so that should be now. So let's try that. I'll run it again. Execution started. Course ID is not defined. So let's look at 71. I've obviously done a little thing here where I've not done something right. So I'll probably just typo. Course ID is not defined. So let's have a look up here. Yeah, so I've got course ID here, which I'm reading. Let's go back down here. Course ID is not defined. Yeah, that's right, because I use a capital D. It's course ID, it's case sensitive. So my typo. Same thing here again. This is obviously on 63. I've made the same error. Yeah, owner ID this time. Cool, and now we're done. And so if I take this URL and I open a new tab, put that in there, here's what I get. So I have, I now have a spreadsheet with my 3 Google Classrooms I've created in this domain that have been active in the last little while. Who the class owner is, what their email address is, the path in our OU structure about where those users are, the creation date for those classrooms, the last time those classrooms were updated, their state as all active, any section that's been written in, only one of them has a section written in, the course name, the enrollment codes, and then this is just the course ID that's an internal thing that's used to track the courses. So that is a Google AppScript to go and list all your Google Classrooms. It's pretty awesome. I'll drop a link to the code into the information at the bottom of this video. This has been a Google AppScript admin tutorial with Acer and AppsEvents. I'm Charlie Love, and thanks for watching.